Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. Today I'm going to be going through an Explorer metagame challenge. I'm going to be playing blue-white control with Lotus Field. This is a deck that I played a bunch in the more distant past in Explorer. I used to like this deck a lot. I haven't played it in a little while. I kind of felt like other decks had more going on. There's a couple new additions, though, that I think make this deck a lot more reasonable. So the first one is the newest edition, Thespian Stage, and this is a card from the latest Explorer anthology. I actually don't think this is a very important addition to this deck at all. It does make playing, it gives you a little bit more payoff from playing with Lotus Field. It comes at the expense of some other colorless or colored lands. Like I don't have Field of Ruin. I don't have either of the castles in my deck. I'm not a big fan of the castles. I think that Hall of Storm Giants is way better than the castles. But yeah, this is probably a minor upgrade to the other things. The biggest upgrade is Impulse, which this deck is definitely a deck where you're trying to get nut draws, where you have a Strict Proctor plus Lotus Field on turn 3, and just having Impulse to set up more of those is kind of the perfect card for this deck. Then with the addition of Impulse, I think it also makes it a lot more appealing to play with Hullbreaker Horror. In previous builds, I was always hesitant to actually put Hullbreaker Horror in my deck if I wasn't going to be playing with some sort of cantrips or instant speed card draw. Because the Horror is it's super powerful if you have a lot of instants, so you can trigger it whenever you want, kind of at will. But if you're mostly like a deck that plays at sorcery speed or plays counter spells, it doesn't actually do that much for you. But I think with 4 Impulses, and then I've also gone up to 4 Memory Deluges, I think the Horror does enough. It is a card I'm going to board out a fair amount just because it's really expensive, and some of the matchups you don't need, like the late game power the Horror gives you, and you just want cheaper cards. The cost of putting all those Impulses, and I think I used to play 3 Memory Deluges, I'm up to 4 now, in the deck, is I have fewer Shark Typhoons. Shark Typhoon is a card that I used to think was kind of indispensable, but as the power level of the cards on Arena has inflated some, I don't really think it's anything special anymore. So I'm down to 1 copy of that. In terms of ways to cheat the Lotus Field into play, I have 4 Strict Proctors in my deck, which that's the best way to cheat it into play, I would say, just because it gives you a 1/3 body in addition to cheating the Lotus Field into play. And also there are a lot of decks that find it really annoying to play if there's a Strict Proctor in play. Then I've got 3 Discontinuities and 1 Tail's End. Discontinuity, I think, is clearly the better one. If you look, I don't even have any 3-mana counters in my deck. I don't have Absorb. I hate that card. I would never play with it. But I don't have Saw It Coming, which I used to play in small numbers. They're just all Discontinuities now. I like, once you get to the point later in the game where you really just want to counter to seal up the game, Discontinuity, even at 6 mana, does a pretty good job of doing that. And it has a lot of upside that it works with Lotus Field. And also just a lot of decks are going to try to play things at the end of your turn, and you're going to spend 2 mana to counter them. And that's, it's a great deal. One Tail's End. The One Tail's End is nice because it gives you a reasonable 2 mana counter against a lot of strategies. If you're playing against mono green, it's going to counter their planeswalkers. If you're playing against Greasefang, it counters the namesake card. Every once in a while, you're going to counter one of your opponent's triggered abilities, but that's not really going to matter that much. It's mostly you're going to counter the triggered abilities on Lotus Field, or you're going to counter your opponent's planeswalkers and legends. But that's a good card. 2 Dovin's Vetoes, 4 in the 75. I think that this is just a really good card for blue-white in a lot of matchups. I think you should make room to have the full 4 in your 75. It's such a good card, there's no reason not to. I'm a little bit light on Sweepers because I don't actually think Sweepers are very good in Explorer right now. So I've got 1 Supreme Verdict, 1 Farewell, and then I've got 2 Wandering Emperors. It doesn't feel like people are playing a lot of just basic creature rush decks, so my main deck is not set up for those very much. Most people are working towards either some sort of a combo, or they're trying to get a massive board advantage with like non-creature permanents. So planeswalkers, or like Witch's Oven plus Cat. stuff that just a straight up sweeper doesn't really help you very much against. The cheaper removal spells I've got, 2 Fateful Absences, because again, I think Planeswalkers are actually pretty important to answer in Explorer right now, and then 2 March of Otherworldly Lights, which is just, you know, it's kind of a catch-all. It's never an efficient card, but sometimes it's the card you need. And also, just being able to pitch spells to it. A lot of the time, this deck you're not going to lose because you ran out of resources. You're going to lose because you weren't fast enough. So actually pitching cards to cast this faster does happen some of the time. Looking at the sideboard, I've got only 1 Soul Guide Lantern in my sideboard. I don't think Graveyard Hate's particularly important in Explorer, and a lot of the things that you really want Graveyard Hate for, Farewell does an okay job with, and also Discontinuity sometimes works like Graveyard Hate. It depends on exactly what the what they're trying to do. Divine Smite obviously is in the deck to exile black creatures primarily. There aren't that many black non-creature permanents, but it hits Greasefang, it hits Mayhem Devil. You need to be a little bit judicious when you play against a red-black deck. There's Divine Smites and Aether Gusts, and you don't want to board in all of them against every deck. You kind of need to look at what's the composition of your opponent's deck, because it does vary, and Aether Gust may or may not be a good card. Divine Smite may or may not be a good card. They're never going to be terrible cards, but they may not be good enough cards they want to board in. You really need to pay attention to what you've seen from your deck in Game 1 and potentially Game 2, or from your opponent's deck. 2 Portable Holes to have some more cheap removal. It's very important to note that Portable Hole is pretty awkward with Strict Proctor, because it turns Portable Hole into a 3-mana card for you if you have Strict Proctor in play. So you need to watch out with your sequencing when you've got both of those in your deck, or, you know, just be aware you might need to pay 3 mana some of the time. Portable Hole can also be a little bit awkward with Farewell, but if you've never done this before, the Farewell resolves in order. So you can Farewell away artifacts and you'll exile the Portable Hole, and if the thing that was under the Portable Hole is a creature, that also gets exiled. However, if you've exiled a Witch's Oven with Portable Hole and then you Farewell artifacts, you're going to be giving your opponent back a Witch's Oven. Maybe the game state dictates that that's what you have to do, but ideally you will not be doing that. 1 Sunset Revelry. My deck doesn't have a lot of ways to gain life, so I wanted one card that, you know, gain life. I can gain life from Wandering Emperor, but just another card. And this is obviously against, you know, low to the ground rush creature decks or burn decks. 1 Ratchet Bomb. This is mostly against Indomitable Creativity, but you can board it in against anybody that has just a ton of 1-mana cards in their deck. That's usually not going to be people who are playing Cat Oven, just because, while Cauldron Familiar is a 1-mana card, it doesn't really ever get hit by the Ratchet Bomb, so it's really just Ovens in that matchup. But against like a white weenie deck where they might have 12 1-drop creatures in their deck, or you know, maybe against like an Elves deck where an Elves deck's probably also going to have 12 1-drop creatures, you'd want to board in Ratchet Bomb there. Mystical Dispute, obviously against blue decks. Every once in a while, if you're playing against an oddball deck that isn't a blue deck and you just want another counter, you might want to board this in, but really this is just for blue decks. And then Supreme Verdict, just to have access to more sweepers, because like I said, this main deck is light on sweepers. That's the deck. Let's hopefully have a nice long run. Not a great hand, but it's 4 lands, 3 spells that can really turn into almost anything, so hopefully it's going to turn into what I need. These lands are so confusing. So this is a blue-black ninjas deck, okay. Bit of a rogue deck. Probably don't have a very good hand for playing against it. Let's see what the ninjutsu. They didn't ninjutsu anything. Satoru Umezawa. You're going to make me have to read that, aren't you? This thing is both a pretty good blocker and a way to cheat a Lotus Field into play. This just like gives Whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, you get a benefit. Okay. Wouldn't be that surprising for it to die. It's dead. Am I getting ninjutsu'd? Probably. This is like a lifelink ninjutsu. Okay. You can actually build a pretty reasonable version of this deck in Historic. What my opponent has going on, I would say doesn't look all that reasonable. But I think they're going to beat me this game, though. Maybe not. Let's see if this resolves. Or gets the block. They're still going to get some more ninjutsu value because they can ninjutsu the Mukatai Ambusher away into the Moon Circuit Hacker, and they're going to get 2 more cards from that. 1,000-faced Shadow. Is that better to put into play than the one I already knew about? I'm not sure. I guess they dealt more damage this way. I think I might die here.
We need to move quickly.
Just hoping to hit it instant. Obviously the Wandering Emperor would be the best. Does this thing do anything now? Oh, for some reason I thought this was going to have haste. It doesn't. Should I impulse now? Looking for removal spell. They can actually ninjutsu. Even if I find another removal spell, they could just ninjutsu and switch the ninja. So it wouldn't even actually do all that much. Please don't hit anything good. Jwari Disruption and Island. So they can cast the Jwari Disruption, so I'm not going to get to play Impulse. Or I'm not going to get to play Memory Deluge this turn. Wait, isn't this until end of turn? Until end of turn, you play one of those cards. They played their land. Okay. That might actually be enough to get me out of this.
Let's skip to the good part.
That's certainly going to be enough.
Run away. You'll be safe. My judgment is final.
Probably didn't need to do all this stuff at sorcery speed, but I want to play another Lotus Field and use as much of my mana as possible. Doesn't really matter a ton what lands you sack there. The one thing is you do want to keep a land that counts as an island or plains in play for Glacial Fortress, which I had enough lands that wasn't really going to be an issue. I think I'm going to block. Now what? You are already dead. No, I guess. If you had asked me to name what card they were going to have, I was not going to name that one. Oh, I shouldn't have let the auto tapper take control. I think think it's a bad sign that my opponent is playing so many cards that I'm pretty sure have been buffed in Alchemy in the format where they're not buffed. I think that they improved this Mind Link mech. They definitely improved Satoru Umezawa.
Keep up the pace.
I could Tails End this Lotus Field into play, but I don't think I really need the mana. I think I'm just gonna
Strike fast and strike hard.
play a regular land, and maybe the Tails End actually counters something. Counter some sort of triggered ability. Or I guess I could counter a Satoru Umezawa, potentially. I'm probably just looking to stay alive until I can resolve a Teferi emblem, or get a Teferi emblem. And from that point, I think I'll probably be able to win. We're past the point where it matters what I do. I'm going to discontinuity them in their upkeep. Sometimes you want to wait until someone's actually going to cast a spell to discontinuity them. In this case, it really just doesn't. It doesn't matter either way. But usually the deciding factor is whether or not they would be attacking you before they cast a spell. If they're going to attack you before they would cast a spell, and you care about the attack, you need to discontinuity them in their upkeep. If they don't have anything going on the board, you should usually wait until they're going to cast a spell.
Let's skip to the good part.
We'll do this thing with Thespian stage. Oh man, the auto tapper, you can't trust it with this deck. You really, if you're in a spot where it's important for it to do it correctly, you got to do it yourself. Your turn, it's been canceled. Oh man, your turn's been canceled again, opponent? Should I start Fateful Absencing my soldier tokens so I can get clues, so I can draw and trigger the Teferi emblem? It'd be fun. Probably wouldn't be necessary though. What? I thought I had to stop there. All right. I'll live. Satoru Umezawa is back. Tails End that. So I obviously want Supreme Verdicts. I guess they have enough black creatures. I want Divine Smites. They probably have some of the ninja planeswalkers too. Would make some amount of sense. Probably don't need Farewell. These Dovin's Veto seemed quite bad. Might want Mystical Dispute, though. That might be good. I don't want between March and Fateful Absence. Yeah. We'll do that. This is a 2-lander, but it's 5 white spells, no white mana, so I'm not going to keep that. Is it a ninja? No, not ninja. Boring. Very boring opponent. I think I should take the land. Obviously, I'm going to need a Supreme Verdict at some point, but I also need double white mana. Is it a ninja? It's a hacker. Be nice to find a Supreme Verdict. I know there's one in my bottom 3 cards right now. There are 2 other ones in my deck. Wandering Emperor would do a fair amount as well. This doesn't face Shadow. Satoru Umezawa combo doesn't seem that good. I guess they got trigger off of the Satoru Umezawa, and the Moon Circuit Hacker got the better trigger. I mean, it did something, but that was a lot of... They spent a lot of mana on their turn. I have time for a Lotus Field. Perhaps not. Probably better off if they wind up actually attacking my Teferi.
Right on schedule.
I think Tail's End does something against ninjutsu. I think it's going to make it so, like... Just... How does ninjutsu work? So it returns the creature as a cost, and you put the creature into play as part of resolving the trigger. So Tail's End works pretty well against it. Does that stop the Satoru trigger? Whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, so it doesn't stop it.
Time for plan B. As soon as I think of one.
Oh wait, I was supposed to tell him that. Oops. I'll be cycling.
Can't fix everything, but we can. There's no secret I can't uncover.
Probably doesn't really actually matter that much that resolves, to be honest. This is going to be a game where if I find a Supreme Verdict, I think I'm going to win pretty easily. And if I don't find one, extra Planeswalker's not really going to matter.
Hold that thought.
Should I make a blocker, or should I just exile? I think I'm just going to exile, get the life.
You're just underwhelming.
Problem with making a blocker is that there's always a possibility that they actually have removal spells still in their deck.
You are not much of a roadblock.
That I'm going to counter because it wouldn't get Supreme Verdicted away. And I'm just praying I find Supreme Verdict. I'm going to get to see, I need one of my top 6 cards. The odds on that aren't actually that good. Might be able to piece something else together if that doesn't work out though.
Remember your training.
Getting to the point where I need to worry about this? No, they minused it. It's a pretty big boy. So I can make a 5/5 Shark Typhoon. Block the Satoru. I think I need to throw the Strict Proctor in front of the Nezumi Prowler. Just because if they have a ninjutsu creature that has greater than 1 power, they can ninja this thing away. And I'd be taking 7 damage if I tried to just have the Proctor eat the Thousand-Faced Shadow. I die. Gonna be cycling Irrigated Farmland if Mystical Dispute doesn't have a target. It's worth Mystical Disputing even a 1/1 flyer against this deck because they're gonna ninjutsu something off of that 1/1 flyer. I think I'm going to want to cycle another farmland. I did keep a very land-heavy hand. What does this thing do? Okay. So I need to March of Otherworldly light this thing before it kills my Teferi. Come on, something good.
This isn't a fight. We need to move quickly.
That's pretty good. Your turn, it's been canceled.
Keep up the pace.
Do you want to cycle? Eh, not really. Keep making land drops.
We need to move quickly.
I probably should have played Impulse before playing my land. I think we're past the point that it matters, though. Time to have a 1/3. I think it's time to start getting my offense going. 2 mana 1/3. Deal with it if you can, opponent. We're past the point of anything mattering.
Now what? I'm sorry to do this.
I think I once saw someone win a game where their opponent had 2 Teferi emblems, but it doesn't happen often. That even a single Teferi emblem is beatable. You're a long way away, Hullbreaker Horror. So that was a really good draw. Assuming I don't get... Well, I didn't get Thought Seized. This is just another person that doesn't really have a top tier deck. Although this thing's a little scary. He kills you pretty quick. Why would you be a white-black? I'm not sure. Could be in trouble that they got the counters on me, so now I am 8 proliferates away from dying. Now 7. I'm gonna cycle this. Hard casting, it's kind of tempting, but I don't have any other spells in my hand. I'd much rather get one card closer to a Memory Deluge than have a Shark Typhoon in play. Is this thing an instant? It is. Evil has been destroyed. My shark wasn't evil. It's only doing what's in its nature. You really needed a creature that turn, opponent. I should have read this Rascal card. Can I?
Let's skip to the good part.
I can protect my Strict Proctor from being edicted away by having, or my Teferi from being Strict Proctor. I can protect my Teferi from being edicted away with Rascal's Contempt by having a Strict Proctor in play. English can be hard. I don't think that is so important it demands being discontinuityed. Certainly I don't care about the Strict Proctor living too much. It's just a matter of, do I really want to take another Proliferate? And I think it's fine. At this level of proliferation, I'm not really that close to dying. Whoa. Don't see that guy every day. Take 2 lands, I guess.
No time for a break.
Wandering Emperor of their own. I feel like that.
I've learned much during my travels. Let me show you.
Just gonna Otawara the token.
Let your keep watch for intruders. Oh, I'm home. My judgment is final.
We need to move quickly.
Oh, come on. Why wouldn't you just tap 2 Lotus Fields, Arena?
Strike fast and strike
Allow
hard.
me to be lazy.
Back to wandering.
As hard as feet are removed from time itself.
What the 5 poison? Five's not nothing.
Strike true.
I probably don't need that Teferi to kill them. Alright, random creature proliferate deck. Let's not think too hard on this one. Maybe I want Divine Smites over Tail's End and Dovin's Veto. Done. Certainly want to play at least one of these Irrigated Farmlands, so the Glacial Fortresses are coming into play untapped. Maybe don't need to play both. No, opponent, you didn't even have a 2-drop. So if they play a spell that kills the Wandering Emperor here, I am going to just Fateful Absence it to effectively 4-mana cycle the Fateful Absence. Would obviously do the same thing to a token, if that's what's dying.
Let your blade do the talking.
They have another removal spell. You gonna fizzle my Fateful Absence? They have to have removal spells in their hand. They don't have creatures. Maybe they have that 5-mana 4/4 that's like it kills a creature when it comes into play if you have Corrupted. They could have that in their hand.
Try not to miss me.
Well, on Teferi. Not bad. They do seem to have a lot of cards in the deck that kill planeswalkers, so maybe the Teferi's not going to live.
Time for a break.
A backup Teferi, pretty nice.
Hurry.
My hand really doesn't have much going on. So I guess if they could kill this Teferi and the next one, they would have a shot. Flensing Raptor. No, that's not what you needed. A backup Teferi?
We need to move quickly.
Being overrun by raptors. I'm going to do Supreme Verdict here so that I can get the emblem and get this game over with. Won the die roll. That's always nice. If you're wondering why I have Jwari Disruption in my deck over Censor, it's because you want to play a pretty high land count when you're playing with Lotus Fields. Just because you are going to need to play the, just play the Lotus Field as your third land, sacking 2 other lands a decent amount of the time, and so you just want to have a lot of lands in your deck. So that's what I've got. They're missing, they missed their 3rd land drop, which, alright, they hit it this turn. Usually the key to these black-red decks is you just want to, you don't want to let your life total get too low, because they are, well, depending on if it's a Mayhem Devil, the Mayhem Devil Cat Oven decks can kind of just burn you out from a reasonably low life total. The other ones, it's a little bit less scary. I think I'm gonna let this Harvester hit me one more time though. And just set up my mana. They do now know about the sweepers in my hand, so they're probably not going to go too crazy overcommitting. Also, Hall of Storm Giants is not going to be a very effective blocker once they get to 4 mana, because they're going to have Fatal Push in their main deck for sure. So this might not be a Mayhem Devil version, this might just be a mid-range version, but still they certainly are going to have 4 Bone Crusher Giants, it seems. So, I don't want to let my life total get too low. Graveyard Trespasser, that's kind of annoying. I was looking forward to that Memory Deluge. We're going to impulse into Teferi, and then all of our problems will be gone. Duress. Okay. Maybe not all the problems are gone. They took Farewell. Rocks, 5 cards in the yard. I think I'm actually going to pitch the March. Save the 3 life. Getting close to the point where I can just start attacking them with Hall of Storm Giants. I think I do want to get the Teferi in play first, but... Ooh, that's a nice draw. They're in a pretty precarious situation actually right now, because they need to spend mana on their turn, but the Hall of Storm Giants are going to close this game out really quickly. Obviously I can Tails into Croxa. That was why it was a nice draw. Let's just make it... Probably just make it a 4/4. It's just going to die to Fatal Push. So I guess we'll Memory Deluge instead.
We need to move quickly.
So I want Strict Proctor in play against a potential Croxa. Against this Croxa, it's fine. It's just if they have another one in their deck, they don't often play that many Croxes. Yeah, nice. A Data Fatal Push, which was actually like a card my opponent was potentially going to need. So I'm a little surprised they used it on something that isn't a Hall of Storm Giants. Maybe they think they're just never going to kill both Hall of Storm Giants, so it really doesn't matter that much. The Strict Proctor is slightly better to have in play against the Croxa that's being escaped, so maybe that was their thought process. It's not looking good for your opponent. So this was a creature-heavy build that has both Trespasser and Bonecrusher Giant. I didn't see Fable, and I think there's no way they have Cat Oven in this build. This is like a mid-range build. Probably they have Fable. And they probably just don't have 4 of both of these other 3s. They probably only have like 1 or 2 Croxes, would be my guess. So I don't think I need Soulguide Lantern. I do want my Supreme Verdicts. Divine Smite's probably pretty good. Maybe I want Gusts as well. Don't want Hullbreaker Horror. I don't think I really need Farewell. Maybe trim 1 Strict Proctor, just in case they have a bunch of Croxes. And I don't really like Fateful Absence unless they're going to have Planeswalkers. I think I'll try something like that. This is a matchup where you just really want to trade cards and then let your card drawing from Memory Deluge and Teferi take the game over. That's kind of a description for most matchups. This hand is not great. I think given that I know the matchup, though, I'm going to keep. Just because, like, this hand at least has the benefit that it's pretty good against Thoughtseize and duress kind of things. Like, I'd rather have a spell-heavy hand that's hoping to draw lands and have a land-heavy hand that needs to draw spells in this particular matchup. So they're not all that likely to really punish me if I don't do anything early on in the game, but if you don't draw enough spells to get ahead of the discard, you can easily lose. They do have Fable. It's really not that surprising. Only pitched 1 card, so they kind of like their hand. Buster. Alright. I'm not going to exile the Bank Buster. I think if they're spending their mana on the Bank Buster, I'm going to have time to spend my mana on Memory Deluge and Teferi. So I think I can keep up. I will eventually have to kill Bankbuster. Do I need to fire off this Memory Deluge? Is that what they're going to take? If they do take it, I guess I would play Wandering Emperor. Yeah, I think this is okay. They might take Teferi here, and then I have the possibility of Memory Deluging into another Teferi. Yeah, it's not that surprising. They might draw a card with the Bankbuster here in the hopes of hitting another discard spell. They did not do that. These Lotus Fields are a little bit awkward. They're gonna be really good if I can keep the Teferi in play, but I'm not that surprised that it's dying here.
No time for a break.
It's also not that surprising that they haven't had enough mana to use the Bankbuster. I think it was the right call for me to ignore it so far. I can't ignore it forever, but I can just play my own game plan. Why are you doing this, opponent? Just missed a damage and a blood, unless you really thought I was going to March of Otherworldly Light. Blood Tithe Harvester. Please screw in response. Oh, they're not crewing. Boo. There's no reason to just jam a Lotus Field here when I can play a different land. That's a little bit annoying. I think that was worth it. It was about to hit me for 4 damage, and I was going to lose one of those 2 spells. Instead, I bricked. Duress. Is this a race situation? I don't think so. It's 3 hits for me to kill them, and they're attacking for a pretty good amount. Obviously, they can hit me for 3. 3 a turn is like... I've got some time, especially if they're chump attacking with their Graveyard Glutton. I would have gone for a different attack opponent. Or if you really want to attack with the Graveyard Glutton, at least... don't spend all your mana animating a creature land before you attack. I want to wait to see if they attack with the Hive of the Eye Tyrant before I put this Memory Deluge into my graveyard. If they do attack, I can let them attack, get the trigger, and then hopefully Deluge into a Divine Smite. This game's starting to get pretty hard. Divine Smite, please. They're really all about the life gain here. I guess the life total does matter some. I do have a Hallowed Storm Giants, which they may not have an answer to. Yes, I'm going to Tails End this Lotus Field into play. It's kind of marginal. It's not really all that clear that I need this much mana. I'm going to feel bad if they just immediately play another Shieldred. Could have flashed the Wandering Emperor in here, and it would have meant that they took a Memory Deluge and then weren't able to attack, but the problem is that they're just not going to attack then, and I will wind up just having a Wandering Emperor sitting in play that I think won't do all that much for me. Maybe setting up a juicy double block here. 4/4 Shark. On Hall of Storm Giants. Versus a Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Do they have double Hive? No, they don't have that yet. I think I've only seen one Teferi so far. Is that true? No. I've seen 2 Teferis and both my Wandering Emperors. This list, because I don't have any Field of Ruins, is a little vulnerable to creature lands. Can afford to do this for 4, right? Please don't have anything bad for me. Would really like this block to just work. Did not. Down to 5 now. We may be in a spot where I need to just start discontinuitying them.
Schedule.
Man, they really have a lot of annoying cards.
Keep up the pace.
So I can trade the Hive of the Eye Tyrant for a Strict Proctor and they get the Memory Deluge, but it costs them 5 mana. It's not a horrible deal for them. Seems like a good attack by the opponent. They can use their other 4 mana on their castle or the Bankbuster. I actually think if they make this attack with just the Hive of the Eye Tyrant, I'm just going to play the Memory Deluge. I'll let him put me down to 2. Meaning I'm going to die to a Bone Crusher Giant. They might have boarded those out. Discontinuity.
Hide from the world any longer. Let's skip to the good part.
You're not discontinuity. This was not very well played by the opponent. I think they should have cast that sooner. Might not have mattered, but... Actually, it definitely mattered, didn't... They had it in their hand when I played that Memory Deluge that I was almost tapped out for. I'm reasonably happy with how I sideboarded, actually. Maybe the gusts aren't that good. Though they do still, they have Fry, Bone Crusher Giant, Fable, Blood Tithe Harvester. I think this is fine. Another hand that's reasonable against Thoughtseize but needs lands. On fourth land. Okay. Man, I lost that last game even though they chump attacked that one turn. It's kind of annoying. Goodbye, Divine Smite. Ooh.
I know what must be done. You know what? I'm not done.
That wasn't ideal. Something tells me this Teferi is not likely to be around when I get to untap. They could have made it so it would die to the Bone Crusher Giant, but they didn't. They're just ignoring it. Probably a Fry in their hand. No. Really weird. I guess they know I have another Teferi, but I don't think you can afford to play like this, opponent. There might not have been a way for them to win this game. I think they would have had a much better chance, though, if they had just tried to slog through the Teferis. So probably just Wandering Emperor, the Bone Crusher Giant. Eat the 1/1. Yep.
Anyone who harms my people must contend with me. You are not much of a roadblock.
I'm actually just playing these Strict Proctors as blockers because I don't think that Supreme Verdict is going to help me survive very much.
Remember your training.
This is kind of bad sequencing by me. So this turn I have block with Hall of Storm Giants and Aether Gust available to me. Maybe if their top card was invoked, well, maybe if they haven't invoked Despair for this turn, they could get something going on. Outside of that, I think they're in a lot of trouble. They wouldn't even get the discard trigger because I have double Strict Proctor. But I think it's still worth keeping that thing off the board. I suppose I could have let it resolve and then just gotten it from play. It seems a little bit safer though. Returns are going to be canceled.
How we greet our enemies.
Probably could attack, but I don't know. Maybe there's something that can possibly go wrong that I'm not thinking of, and I'm not going to lose because I just missed 4 damage. People always love doing this. They respond to the discontinuity. Like, that's not something you could just do on my end step. And another person scoops to Teferi Emblem. No. This is substantially better. The only real question is, do I want Verdict or Impulse? I probably just want Verdict. My hand's not really missing anything that I need to find with Impulse. I think I chose wisely against Hallowed Fountain. Come on, no counter. It was worth the risk, but it was a risk. If I draw an untapped land next turn, my hand's still pretty good. Yeah, that's annoying. And the game's over. Oh, actually, I didn't choose wisely. I chose horribly. I saw the Supreme Verdict in my hand instead of Impulse. Well, their hand was so good, I would have lost anyway. Maybe not. They have all the mana in the world, but they haven't played a Memory Deluge or a Teferi yet, so maybe there's still hope.
Now you've done it. That's come back. May your blade strike true. We've got the edge in this fight.
That's not great.
I'm not overconfident.
I'm so far behind on mana that the Hall of Storm Giants is a really big problem.
To me.
I'm basically never going to get to safely have a Planeswalker in play.
Strike fast and strike hard.
I guess I just jammed the Teferi here, and if I had an untapped land, I actually have access to Fateful Absence on the Hall of Storm Giants. And there's a lot of stuff that has to go right here.
Trust me, you'll thank me later. Let's skip to the good part.
I can, of course, chump to keep the Teferi alive, which I think I'm probably in the market to do. Maybe not, given I have another Teferi. I guess I can also just chump the Hall and the Teferi goes to 1. It seems fine. Their hand seems like it might... What is in their hand? They're attacking me. Why do people do this to themselves? It feels like they're making a mistake by doing this, but... I think I was going to chump anyway. I'll just chump.
I would run if I were you.
I'm going to copy a Hall.
Hurry.
Keep watch for intruders.
I want to leave up mana to potentially Fateful Absence a Hall. Are they on double Hall yet? I think they're on double Hall with an untapped land. Yeah, they need an untapped land, and then they're on double hull. It feels like they should have had an absolutely overwhelming advantage this game, and instead they've got, like, they're trying to win through this kind of bad hull gambit. And again, who knows what's in their hand, but I mean, last turn they split damage between my face and my Wandering Emperor, which really doesn't seem good.
Need to move quickly.
Remember your training.
Game's not completely in the bag for me yet. It's not like I really have an answer if they just play a Teferi of their own, or even if they just have a card that gets my Teferi off the board so I don't get an emblem. Game's going to go on for a while. One card that stops at Teferi. Still have some in my deck. Tail's End. Or Dovin's Veto. Did not find either. Let's see if they go with minus. Went with plus. It's probably the right choice. A bad card. I think I'll just play the cheaper one.
Need to move quickly.
We must protect the people.
So I've got the March that can hit the Hall of Storm Giants. I'll probably just be looking to discontinuity one of their spells. It's a little bit awkward when you have a Teferi in play and you want to discontinuity an instant at the end of the turn because you wouldn't get the land untaps. So I probably would not have discontinuityed the Memory Deluge. And maybe now. Because why did they wait?
Let's skip to the good part.
feel like not killing my Teferi there is malpractice, or not at least trying to. I think they're constrained on resources enough that this is now a good play.
Time is much more malleable than people think.
I have got new moves to
Guess
do.
they haven't drawn any Memory Deluges. Maybe they don't have 4. Wandering Emperor. Surely this one's going to kill the Planeswalker.
Let me show you. Keep watch for intruders.
I might have fought harder over that if I hadn't already had redundant copies of all the Planeswalkers. Discontinuity on this is pretty good. I still have 2 left on my two left in my deck. Those are also pretty good.
Let your blade
Getting it to
do
Teferi.
the talking.
I think I'm going to try to kill the Teferi with make a 4/4 Shark, buff it up to a 5/5.
We need to move quickly.
And then I'll use this Dovin's Veto on the flashback Memory Deluge. Ooh. Forgot I could draw into that one.
We've got the edge in this fight.
So if I Hullbreaker Horror, like Wandering Emperor, I can't afford to play Teferi this turn, which I want to do. So we're going to do this instead. Wouldn't be shocked if this gets countered in some way. It's getting Memory Deluge. Okay.
This isn't a fight. Hold that thought.
Okay, you gonna go after the Shark? No.
You know what? I'm not done.
I think I'm just gonna block with the Hall of Storm Giants if they attack. Putting the Hullbreaker Horror in a spot where it can get Wrathed, I think is not a risk I have to take. I could honestly just let the Wandering Emperor go. Let's do that instead. There is always the danger in these matchups that the Hullbreaker Horror just gets discontinuity'd. I'm going to play it at their end of their turn, I think, though. And just risk it. I think even if it does get discontinuity'd, I'm actually in pretty good shape. You definitely want to do this before the Teferi untap trigger resolves if you're worried about discontinuity, because now they don't get the untap trigger, which maybe isn't the most important thing in the world, but it is something. I think I'm going to start out by drawing a card. Then I'm going to kill their Teferi with my Shark. Then I'm probably going to play a Memory Deluge. I only have one Dovin's Veto left in my deck, so stopping this Memory Deluge, at least if they play it right now, probably isn't going to happen. I'm planning on playing this Memory Deluge anyway, though, so I'm just going to do it in case I hit my final Dovin's Veto, which I guess I'm seeing a big chunk of my deck, so it's not crazy. I think I'll actually cast the Strict Proctor. It'll let me get the Lotus Field into play on the cheap. And even though I'm doing a lot of return, I'm actually, I'm running out of mana before I'm running out of stuff to do. Oh. Could have had a Jwari Disruption. It's on the bottom of my deck now. Alright, you win this round, opponent. A lot of soul partitions.
Remember your training.
Why are you attacking my face? Do not find that to be a reasonable play. I'm going to tap this for mana now so that I don't give them the ability to use a Jwari Disruption. Actually, to counter a real spell at this point.
We need to move quickly.
Play my land first, just in case the discontinuity here. Memory Deluge. I'm not going to discontinuity that. This might come down to who has more cards left in their deck. Or Teferi's left. They actually have a lot of Teferi's left.
This is hardly my worst.
I still have a Hall of Storm Giants left. many of these are real? Because this is one of those games where I may need to start Thespian staging Hall of Storm Giants. Shark Typhoon.
Run away. You'll be safer.
I'm going to try to discontinuity this, but
Guards, to me.
do have Farewell. That's pretty huge. I'm actually getting to Wither Wandering Emperor, Discontinuity.
I have got new moves to teach you.
No time for a break.
Next turn is an emblem.
We must protect the people.
Next. Doesn't really have much in the way of spells left in it, I guess. Give that one Tail's End. That'd be a nice one.
This isn't a fight. Let's skip to the good part.
I think they drew. Actually getting an emblem. Am I getting discontinuity'd?
I really should have seen that coming. I suppose that's how it was meant to happen.
Should have played a land first. I can't even find anything here. There's nothing left in my deck that does anything about this. I screwed up by not playing a land first. Although playing the Hall of Storm Giants here is dangerous because they've got one Thespian stage. I messed that turn up a little bit.
Hurry!
Use 2 discontinuities now.
Fast and strike hard. I'll be back.
It's been kind of a crazy game. I think I used my second Dovin's Veto kind of poorly, but I also think I fell really far behind at the start. Had to fight back a lot.
If you show remorse, we need to move quickly.
What do I have left? A March. Some Strict Proctors. I think this is mostly lands.
You know what?
They can't have too much left either, though.
I have got
Ooh, they have the Castle Ardenvale.
Hurry.
Why do I have so few Thespian stages in play? I guess I only have 2 in my deck, and I've got 1 in play. So that would probably explain it. Question of, do I want 1/1s here, or do I want to untap my Hall? And I think I just want 1/1s.
Hold that thought.
Show them how we greet our enemies.
This match is probably, my opponent's just going to time out. Another Shark Typhoon. Maybe they're not actually going to time out. That's actually probably going to kill me. Assuming they have spells left to cast. Which... our decks are actually starting to get to the point where there just aren't very many spells left in them. If you're wondering why I haven't been cycling this Irrigated Farmland, it's because like there's just nothing left in my deck to find that's even worth anything. I believe. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Is that the third discontinuity?
This is
fourth.
hardly my worst defeat. Let me know if you're up for round 2.
Strike fast and strike hard.
This is hardly my worst.
Yeah, that kills me. My deck doesn't have anything left in it that does anything. Alright, sideboard here. I do not like Aether Gust. I like Mystical Dispute. And I don't hate the Soul Guide Lantern just because it cycles. Obviously don't like those. Don't really like Strict Proctor. March is, I think, only okay in small numbers. Same thing with Strict Proctor. It's they help both people, but if you have two, like sometimes you need one to get a Lotus Field. Like you get to control when you cast it, and if you board down the two, you're less likely to draw them in multiples. It seems like the opponent's build has a lot of Shark Typhoons and doesn't have impulses. I don't remember seeing impulse, which I think is worse against the general metagame, but it's way better to have just more Shark Typhoons in this matchup. Like they had 4 discontinuities, and I think they had at least 3 Shark Typhoons. I kind of expect them to have a bunch of Dovin's Vetoes, so I don't really think the discontinuity is going to work there, necessarily. Might try it next turn. Ideally, they... excuse me. Ideally, they go for it, and I get to Dovin's Veto. Discontinuity of theirs, and then untap and do my own. So far, no dice. Not too worried about them having a castle. It's very rare that the castles really matter. There's almost always something better to do with your mana. The fact that they got this exchange twice is pretty brutal for me, where they got Strict Proctor Lotus Field 2 times after countering my way to cheat a Lotus Field into play. Can't say I'm enjoying that. And got double cheated into play Lotus Field. Mystical Dispute probably isn't going to do much. They've got so much mana. think I'll go for Wandering Emperor this turn. And also make the second Lotus Field. Sometimes people have really crazy sideboard cards like Thought Distortion or Niv Mizzet. If they've got one of those things and they cast it this turn, obviously I lose. I might -2 on that at the end of their turn.
I hope you're ready to lose. My judgment is fun.
It's a little bit awkward. The one thing that the castle does do is it forces me to play a little bit more proactively than I might otherwise want to.
I have got new moves to teach you. Probably going to lose to them casting at Teferi here. Yeah, that's not that bad for me. Back to wandering.
You can sort of see the pointlessness of the castle and the way this game is played out, though. It's been in play for so many turns, and they've got a ton of mana, and they're still not even activating it. And if it's not like an exciting card in this matchup, I just don't think it's a good card to have in your deck. I guess I want to make a land drop in case they somehow double discontinuity me. That's not going to happen, I suppose. I think I need this to resolve.
I won't hide from the world any longer.
I don't really mind it getting soul partition that much, but this Jwari Disruption is not going to do anything. I didn't quite have enough mana to just be able to recast it immediately. Of course, I let the auto tapper screw me, which isn't ideal. Definitely would have preferred to have one of these random blue-white lands tapped over the second Hall of Storm Giants that I need to be able to block with. Sure. That's definitely getting... I'm just going to cast that again. I guess their plan is they're trying to clear the way so that their flashback Memory Deluge gets to happen, which that's a respectable plan. I think I need these lands. I do need to keep up the pace because there's a decent chance that it's just going to come down to the clock. Oh, what? I should have passed to the second main phase. I didn't realize they had mana floating. Thankfully, they didn't have a Jwari Disruption.
You know what?
If they had Jwari Disruption to me there, that would have sent me into retirement.
Hurry.
No longer trust you, Auto Tapper. Haven't made a land drop yet, so land isn't the worst thing to take here. It's not going to be what I take, though. That's the exact use case that I have the Soul Guide Lantern in my deck for. Just every once in a while you pick off a random Memory Deluge and then cycle. Just a little bit of value. It's better than cards that are just actively bad. Shark Typhoon. This opponent is really all about the hardcast Shark Typhoon lifestyle. Oh, haven't seen that one yet. Might prompt a concession.
You know what? I'm not done.
This is my trump card. And this time I'm not playing it into a spot where it can be discontinuityed. Does that even do anything when I have Hullbreaker Horror? It doesn't seem like it.
Keep up the pace.
I was just double checking they didn't have another Memory Deluge in their graveyard. I guess there was no reason to even go after a Memory Deluge. I could just stop it with the horror. This is probably going to be play 1, cycle 1. This isn't a great matchup to miss land drops in. Do you think when I cycle they're going to discontinuity to deny me the card? I think no. Let's find out. I didn't play Impulse there because I don't want them to just jam a Wandering Emperor on me, especially not when I have Jwari Disruption. Would Jwari Disruption a Memory Deluge here? Come on, land Teferi. It's a really aggressive play. I mean, it loses not only to Mystical Dispute, but also to... Divine's Veto and other Jwari Disruptions. I'm not surprised they didn't do that. Did they just not float mana? They didn't float mana. That might mean they have Dovin's Veto. Because if they could have floated mana and turned the Thespian stage into another Lotus Field to get ahead on mana. And this is not an appealing assortment of cards. I guess I'm actually going to take the land. Which doesn't seem like we're anywhere near the March doing anything relevant. Should be far enough ahead on the clock now that I can't lose. As long as I keep playing at a reasonable pace. I was kind of wrong about that March not doing anything. Though they also didn't... They haven't switched their Thespian stage to the Lotus Field, which I think is something they should want to do pretty badly. Come on, Dovin's veto it. Yeah. No luck. This is going to be Dovin's vetoed. No? Probably just have a terrible soul partition card in their hand. Again, it's really not that big of a deal to counter the soul partition, but it just... Jwari Disruption's so unlikely to do much of anything. I might as well do it. I could attack into their Shark because I have the Wandering Emperor, but it just telegraphs I have the Wandering Emperor, and I'm not... This is not a spot where I need to be racing on life totals. Should I cast the Wandering Emperor, though? I don't think I even need to do that. I am going to Dovin's Veto this Memory Deluge, though. I will probably attack with my Hall of Storm Giants this turn. Let's see what I find here.
Let's skip to the good part.
Nothing too exciting. I should have shot this land into play. I guess it doesn't matter because the Hall's not getting to attack. So I still have access to the Wandering Emperor, which is the only thing that really matters. Oh, I didn't realize this happened. Now I get to untap in their instep? I'll take it. Seems pretty nice. So the opponent's going to lose on time, definitely, but I think they were going to lose this game as well if we just got to play it out. I'm pretty far ahead right now. Because their hand obviously is not very good, in addition to me being very far ahead on board.
We need to move quickly.
Come on, let me get one attack in. Don't go out at 17. Good match, opponent. Come on, no more blue-white control, or this video is going to be unbelievably long. This is blue-white, but it's probably not actually blue-white control because of the Seachrome Coast. It's not a typical blue-white control card. Oh, it's some sort of Legends deck. I think they're going to have better Legends for me to counter than Rona. But I do think they are going to have Legends for me to counter, so I'm going to keep Tail's End. This might just be like a Rafine Legends deck. It might be some sort of combo deck. Although I guess Kethis is banned in this format, so they're not playing Kethis. Maybe they're playing Kethisless Kethis? Maybe I'm wrong about Kethis being banned. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Now I actually kind of need a sweeper.
Right on schedule. No time for a break.
I'm gonna do that before they get to untap in case they have make this appear in their deck. My plan, had I not found that march, was I was going to cycle the Shark Typhoon to chump the Adeline to keep my Teferi in play. I can cast the Hullbreaker Horror off this amount of lands if I just leave my Lotus Field untapped and float the mana in my end step. I don't know if that's going to be the play to make, though. Did they draw 4 Seachrome Coasts? Wow. There's no way their deck is only blue-white, right? Vinia. Can cast non-creature spells with greater mana value than the number of lands that player controls.
I won't let you
Doesn't really
win.
seem like it does very much.
Hold that thought.
So what's the plan? I could get the Hullbreaker Horror into play, but I think I'm just going to play Strict Proctor, Hallowed Fountain, untap those two, cycle the Shark Typhoon to get another blocker. Make the token come into play tapped, right? I want to read this card. Yeah, I would. Needed that guy.
Do you want me to phase you out of time?
No time for a break.
I think I'm going to use Impulse to bounce my Teferi back to my hand. With Hullbreaker Horror, obviously. After they attack also, obviously. They'd had enough? Okay. Seems like a great matchup for Supreme Verdict. Probably actually isn't a very good matchup for Mystical Dispute. And they have some blue stuff. Probably they're going to leave this in their deck because they probably think it's good against Lotus Field, even though it's not. White creatures. I think I want my portable holes. Don't think I need you. Definitely want Tail's End. I might actually want this Hullbreaker Horror because they probably have like Dovin's Veto kind of stuff. It's going to make it kind of hard to get a Teferi into play. Trim a Discontinuity and a Fateful Absence. Oh, they are playing black. Makes sense. I mean, there's no reason not to play Rafine if you're going to be playing this Legend strategy with House of Heroes in it. I guess I have to play this farmland this turn. If I want a Supreme Verdict next turn. I guess I could also just play Lotus Field and sack my 2 lands. I think that's what I'm going to do. This will feel bad if I draw, I guess, a Strict Proctor, but this gives me the option of next turn just playing Thespian Stage and making a Lotus Field or playing Supreme Verdict. Just can do this now in case they have some weird card in their deck like Field of Ruin or Assassin's Trophy or Boseiju or something like that. Dennis, where you been, Dennis? Should I Supreme Verdict here? Just because of the Plaza of Heroes. I think I'm just going to make a 4/4 Shark Typhoon. That's a little awkward. Well, I guess there's a decent chance they just make something a 3/4. So they probably want to cycle through some lands. Negate. It's not even Dovin's Veto. Interesting. Oh, I put the wrong land. I definitely wanted to be able to cycle that farmland. I don't think it's going to matter, but it was definitely a mistake. actually lose this game. Whoa, they didn't have any... They didn't pitch anything? Alright, I can't lose this game if they concede. There's going to be a lot of tap lands involved in this hand. Field of Ruin Waste not. Oh, these decks are so annoying. They're not really all that good, but you have to discard so many cards every game. It's really not very fun to play against. It's probably fun for the person doing it when you get to go off with Waste Not. This is a good card in these decks for sure. Hoping they're going to attack me, obviously. If not, I'm still going to play the Wandering Emperor. I'm now starting to suspect they're not going to attack me. So they're going to get to draw... they're going to... Well, they can't take a creature or a land, so they're going to get to draw a card off the Thoughtseize. And then they can Gaia Reach Sanitarium. And we would both get a card and have to discard, which would trigger the Waste Not again. I think the first person to be discarded to the Gaia Reach Sanitarium is probably going to be Hullbreaker Horror. It's possible it's going to be a land. It's nice if you can get to the point. Well, even getting empty-handed doesn't help against Gaia Reach Sanitarium, but when they don't have the Sanitarium going...
I'm not overconfident. You're just underwhelming. Show them how we greet our enemies.
The March can get rid of the Waste Not, which is something I'm interested in doing, but just... I don't think it was worth spending my mana on in that spot. Backup Shieldred. It's a race.
We must protect the people.
This person knew the way to my heart was to just play a million Shieldreds because I love playing against that card.
I have got new moves to teach you.
Are they far enough behind yet that they're in trouble? Probably not. Fourth Shieldred. Let's do it. Man down. Oh, they're going to kill that too. Okay. Pretty good. For them, I suppose. It doesn't actually work out that well because I have the Teferi, but I think it makes a lot of sense for them to have done what they just did.
I know my
I think sadly I had to sack one of my halls to get this Lotus Field into play. Which hall is usually pretty good against them. No, I didn't have to sack a hall, so I still have 2 left in my deck. I have a zombie on me.
I am the Emperor of Kamigawa, and I will protect my people. Let your blade do the talking. Show them how we greet our enemies.
No time for a break.
So if I played the Lotus Field... Oh, I shouldn't have attacked with that. That was a mistake. I can't get the Hullbreaker Horror into play and have access to Dovin's Veto mana, I'm pretty sure. Also, lands are pretty good discards to have with this double waste knot setup. It's going to give him access to a ton of mana, but a ton of mana is probably not my biggest concern. It was definitely a mistake for me to trade with the zombie, though. 2/2 zombie has very little impact on the game, especially if I'm getting Hullbreaker Horror into play. I might have been able to kill them next turn if I hadn't made that trade. Like I said, though, they are going to get access to a ton of mana this turn. So I'm pitching as many lands as I can. They're not going to have anything that can beat Discontinuity.
We need to move quickly.
We must protect the people.
Always remember, the auto tapper is out to get you. Oh. Didn't see that. That's fine. I guess they weren't completely dead because they had the hive. They would have been forced to chump. Against this deck, Divine Smite is good. Portable Hole can hit the Waste Knot, but I don't think it hits really anything else, which is not particularly exciting. Dovin's Veto is okay. I think I don't want Fateful Absence. Probably don't need Supreme Verdict. They might have like Graveyard Trespasser type cards. But I'll have to just try to fight through them or hope they don't have them. One thing about this deck is that you don't need to be that concerned if you don't have perfect answers to all of your opponent's stuff, because your core strategy of just cheat a Lotus Field into play and then get it to Teferi and start, you know, having access to like a massive amount of mana that you can just dump into Memory Deluges or Discontinuities, like that's good enough to beat any deck with your good draws. So it's not that important that you have, you know, perfect answers in a longer game to make sure that, you know, you're always going to have the right answer to whatever your opponent's doing. My opponent didn't play a second land. My hand is not very good, so I'm not going to necessarily crush them if they draw land this turn or next turn. They're getting pretty deep into the... They're going to need another land soon. I guess they played Double Duress. Could make my own Gyre Reach Sanitarium. That seems like something I would definitely not want to use now that they have a Waste Knot. So I can cycle this farmland. They're going to get 2 black mana, but they're probably not going to be able to do anything with it. Or at worst, they're going to like kill a Strict Proctor. I guess at worst, they're going to double Fatal Push the 2 Strict Proctors, which they probably don't have in their hand because they would have played a Fatal Push already. Oh. This is actually, I think, actively good for me if they're using their mana to do that. And there we saw the upside of the play I made. I think I'm gonna not just jam the Hullbreaker Horror. I'm gonna get my Thespian stage copied. Copying a Lotus Field. And now I'm actually gonna hold the impulse to protect the horror. This is one of those hands where impulse potentially pays off a lot. I get 4 cards deeper for finding a Lotus Field to have my best possible draw. I hope this is not another blue-white mirror. It is. Now it's not even that exciting to find a Lotus Field because it's not even going to advantage me that much. I mean, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to play the Strict Proctor, but they already have a Thespian stage. I have a Thespian stage now myself. Probably worth it for them to shock that land into play. It would have worked out a lot better for them for sure. Oh, what are you doing, opponent? Oh, they can't copy my Lotus Fields. Never mind. I always forget that that is how Lotus Field Thespian stage works. My bad. So this is probably just going to die. To a Hall of Storm Giants.
Let's slow this
At least
down.
it could.
This is hardly my worst. Keep up the pace.
All right. Quick one. I'm going to board the exact same way I did last time. These 5 in. To be determined whether this one gets cycled or not. That's probably Behold the Multiverse, would be my guess. It does kind of surprise me that Alrund's Epiphany is legal in this format and people really never try to use it for anything. Okay. I think I'm going to cycle the farmland this turn. I don't think there's a reason I need to have access to a 3rd mana. Kind of in trouble here, or being honest. I'm about to have access to a ton of mana. At least I didn't go in full control mode fast enough. I did. It's so bad when you flash the Wandering Emperor in there and then you don't get priority and don't get the token. So they have 1 stage.
We've got the edge in this fight.
It's untapped land. Just thinking if it's going to go badly for me to put this Hall of Storm Giants into play. I don't think it is. I think the fact that I already have March of Otherworldly Light. Fine. I guess I could have discontinuity'd that. Maybe I should have. Interesting. So this person has Impulse and they have Behold the Multiverse. Wonder if they all have 4 Memory Deluges on top of that.
This isn't going to go how you
Some
think.
sort of counter, I'm guessing. No? Okay. I don't think I'm really gonna ever leave the Jwari Disruption dream here.
I have got new moves to teach you.
against what's about to be quadruple Lotus Field. Quintuple Lotus Field. That's a problem. Do at least get... Kill the Hullbreaker Horror this way, though.
We must protect the people.
Of course, they're probably getting to resolve at the Teferi. Or a backup Strict Proctor. A backup Strict Proctor. The strictness of this is getting out of hand. I like that they didn't have it to Teferi.
Mistake.
I like that part a lot.
Remember your training.
Attacking with Tall Storm Giants wouldn't be the craziest play here, but I think I prefer just using my Memory Deluges. It seems like their hand is quite weak. So they might be able to stop the Memory Deluges, but I think that I'm pretty favored if I just play my hand out slowly and make sure I get to use all my cards. Perhaps not. They're ahead on mana, but not by a huge amount. Also remember, they do have at least one Thespian stage they can switch over to a Hall. Which I have some answers to that. I'm going to Discontinuity to stop this flashback deluge. So now the Hall is lethal, which makes it a lot more tempting to attack with. They must have 2 Thespian stages in play currently. Never seen someone have 6 Lotus Fields in play before. I'm just definitely living their best life. I don't think... More Strict Proctors is not what this game needs. Oh, I think they just misclicked a Lotus Field. No, I guess they were thinking they wanted to switch a Lotus Field to a Hall, but then they didn't realize they were going to have to pay the ward cost because it's animated, maybe? I don't know what just happened there. It's a little bit weird. Seems like they definitely spent 2 mana on nothing, though. Is it even worth attacking? They have so much mana, they seem like they would win. A fight over the Fateful Absence, and I don't know that I want to spend all my mana just trading the Hall off. They didn't switch to a backup Hall. Oh no, another Thespian stage. They're well supplied with those. I'm gonna try to get through some of these Dovin's vetoes. They all know they're coming. Somehow, yet again, just forget to play my land first. It's such a bad habit. That was quite the stack. But I did anticipate that the first Teferi was not going to resolve.
Must be done. Oh, bad
I have another Fateful Absence that I can use to go after the Strict Proctor to give me lethal, even if they save this. And obviously, if the Teferi lives, that gives me another way to get the Strict Proctor out of the way. Alright. Long video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Some pretty good matches, some easy ones at the start, but a bunch of real matches too in there. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.